Hi, I'm Renu, and I'm here to present to you about MVC architecture. I'm going to talk about why it's important and what value it can add to your project. Let's get started. So, we're going to go through MVC introduction tutorial, go on a deep dive, and then we're going to have some questions. Let's get started. So, like like any other curious person, you must have wondered what is the basic structure of your web application and how they work. So MVC is one particular style of designing your web application in a way which is easily extendable and easily operable. Let's look at what MVC is. So we have the model, the view, and the controller. Model uh, is basically the classes which represents database. We have a concept called ORM, object relational mapping, where the classes are translated into tables. The individual objects, I mean the individual characteristics of your class, which can be the variables which you create. Um, they can be translated into the columns. So so it's like when you create an object of a class, it means a row in the table is getting created. So a class has multiple um, variables, a few methods on how they behave. So this could be relationships. So that's what models are. Views. Views is mainly related to how we present it to the. So the next part in this model is controller. Controller has the business logic, and this is what which interacts with the model and updates your view. So let's have a deep dive on what MVC looks like. So the idea is you have a browser, which is the client, and which sends a request to your server. The controller is what receives your user request, and the controller interacts with the model and retrieves data or updates some data, and that in turn updates your view. And this entire view is being rendered to the user, which is the browser. So if you see controller, it is a main, it collects the main input from the user, and then it interacts with the model and renders the view. So this is a high level flow of how MVC works. Um, let's go through an example to understand this better. Imagine you have a room conditioning unit. You have a complete air conditioning unit, and you have an old thermostat controller. So when you're changing the temperature in your controller, what happens is the temperature setting changes internally. It redirects your model, which is a room conditioning system, to let's say cool down or heat up, um, and makes a change in the model. So yeah, how this can be visualized by us or perceived by us is by means of a thermometer here. Now, let's say you not have a thermometer. You can easily substitute the view with something which is not even part of the system. You can, let's say you're increasing the temperature and the model basically changes the air conditioning system changes to heat mode and you're getting hot air. As a result, your friend removes his or her sweatshirt and is just wearing a t-shirt. Now, when you reduce the temperature, the cooling mode kicks in, and your friend wears a sweater or a coat so that they can feel warm. So this is also a visual indicator. This can also be a view. So in this example, you can change any of these components independently, and basically you can plug and play different parts of it without affecting the entire architecture. That's the main advantage of this. So, to summarize, model handles data and logic. Model interacts with the database, retrieves data as per requirement. View, as name suggests, takes care of the presentation of data. How should the data be presented? How should it look? All these things. And controller handles the flow of requests, can be seen as a middleman who accepts requests, sends back responses while coordinating with the model and view. And this is a small tutorial activity. Going to this link, creating virtual environment. Yeah. So you're just going to install create a virtual environment and install the requirements, then run the app.py file, which is a simple Flask backend. So to explain to you what each file has, you have a model, which is basically a class which translates to a table. This is how it looks. You have ID equal to db.column, um, title is equal to db.column, done, created at. These are all column names, okay? And these are the data types: integer, string, boolean, datetime, and um, yeah. This is the core of model. This is basically what we call as a schema. Then controller. Controller is basically the API route which you declare, like slash add, post, and how it basically interacts. The model task is from the model. It creates a new task. In this example, it retrieves all the tasks and sends. It renders the view. See here, render template of index.html. That's how it renders a view. Now, view is basically a HTML file in this instance, and it has some variables which can come from the model, um, or these variables can be sent by the controller, and variable can be something which you visualize simply. Let's get started with the questions. Which of the following statements best describe the model in an MVC architecture? It should be obvious. It holds data, manages state. Yeah, I hope you understood why this is. I mean, like model, as I told you a lot of times, it represents how we store data, how we manage it. It's all related to the database. Next question, which statement best describes communication flow in a classic non-framework specific MVC? So how is the communication flow? Basically, controller updates the view directly by bypassing the model for performance reasons. The view retrieves data directly from the model. No, view never interacts with the model directly. Controller acts as an intermediary. Model updates the view only after database transaction commits. I think the answer is obvious. It's C. The view never interacts with the model directly. Controller acts as an intermediary. So yeah. Third one, if you need to expose core business logic to different interface, example CLI tool in addition to your web app, which layer of MVC can be used with minimal change? So model is always the hardest to change. View is basically how we represent it. Controller will handle your routes, backend code. So which one is more easy to change? Call I would call that view is very easy to change. Controller is also very easy to change. Model, on the other hand, is slightly harder, and it can be reused because, see, the thing is, the entire schema, database schema, everything can remain same. Yeah, see, the model database schema can remain the same. You can reuse that. Um, in this example, it is a CLI tool. That is where you need to understand CLI tool in addition to your web app. So for a CLI tool, you definitely have to change your view. You definitely have to change the controller, but your model can be reused because the data is same. How you interact with the user is different. How you display it to the user is different. So that's the reason. Okay. Why do we need MVC? Um, it's because we can perform separation of concerns. Each component has specific responsibility. Changes in one component does not affect others. Then code organization, how you organize your code clearly so that it's easy to locate specific functionality and change consistent patterns that across the application. Then scalability and maintainability, how easy it is to add new features and how simple it is to modify the existing functionalities or simple plug and play. That is why we need MVC. And some of the popular frameworks are ASP.NET MVC, that is very direct, strict implementation of MVC. Then we have a Flask, is again a simple MVC. It's for architecture, and we have Django, which has a version of MVC, which is called Model Template View. And these are the popular frameworks. So, yeah, we're at the end of the presentation. So, thank you. Have a great day.